All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI SEO Insider podcast. My name is Chris Raulf. I'm an AI and SEO expert and also the founder of Boulder SEO Marketing. This podcast is where we cut through the AI hype and where I talk to people who are getting real results. AI, artificial intelligence, is changing everything, how we create content, how we rank in search, and how we connect with customers and other people. If you're a marketing professional, business owner, SEO expert, or an agency owner trying to figure out how AI fits into your strategy, you're in the right place. My guests and I talk about implementations, results, and practical tactics you can use immediately. Let's get into it. Eric, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey there, Chris.
All right, awesome. So today I'm talking with Eric Elkins, CEO of Wide Focus Social Media, a Denver-based agency he founded back in 2007. Eric, you must be really old like me. Uh, Eric spoke at DigiMarcon Denver last week, where I also spoke on a topic that really caught my attention. AI search optimization, how your content drives sales. All right. Now, here's why this matters to me. And I promise I'm going to let you talk here in a second, Eric. I'm seeing a massive shift in how people search for information, right? They're not just using Google anymore. They're using ChatGPT. ChatGPT, they just launched a browser, Perplexity, Claude, and other AI platforms. And here's the thing, social media content is becoming a critical component of what I call GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. This is the new SEO that I've been talking about. You can't just optimize for Google's traditional search results anymore. You need content across multi-platforms, your website, LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, because AI search engines are crawling and citing all of these sources where they're answering user queries. So Eric's presentation really drove home how social media is no longer just about engagement and brand awareness. It's become an essential infrastructure for AI visibility and revenue generation. And he brought Halloween candy to his session, which was genius because it was late in the day and we all needed it. So, Eric, welcome to the AI SEO Insider podcast. Before we dive in, tell us a bit about yourself, Wide Focus, and what made you focus exclusively on social media when everybody else was doing things differently.
Yeah, maybe because I'm not very smart. No, I'm just kidding. That's thanks for having me on. Yeah, wow, Digimarcon was amazing just from a learning perspective. Like I
Yeah.
left my brain sort of half exploded out of my head. Um, so yeah, I started Wide Focus back in 2007, and at the time, there wasn't really much in the way of social media. It was kind of an emerging idea. Facebook was available, but it wasn't. It was private, wasn't for businesses. People were starting to use Twitter at the time for that sort of interaction. There were blogs and forums, and we really started around conversational media and how to help companies see what was being said out there about them and to help drive those conversations. And um, honestly, I thought I'd just come out VP of marketing from a startup, and I thought I was going to run a marketing company. And I was lucky enough to sit down with one of the VCs from the startup to just kind of catch up and debrief. And he said, Eric, pull up your website for a second. See how you have marketing consulting, PR, sponsorship packages and copywriting and copy editing, and you have social media down at the bottom. I was like, yeah. And he said, just get rid of all that stuff and say you do social and you're going to be, and he didn't say you do social because nobody just said social at the time. Say you do social media and you're going to be busier than you can imagine. And I was like, this is one of the smartest people I've ever met. Sounds like an interesting experiment. And I did that. And literally the next networking event I went to, someone said, what do you do? And I said, social media. And she said, I need your card. We need help with
Wow.
that. So it was really fortuitous. It was during the downturn, so people weren't hiring, but they still knew they needed help on that. And I instead of trying to be a generalist, it really made sense to focus on that one thing that everybody needed help with. And I think it still makes sense. Like, it's good for us because we can team up with SEO
Yeah.
partners and media buyers, and we stay in our lane with our organic social, paid media or paid social media, influencer marketing. Like, all that stuff is within a lane that coordinates well with all the other disciplines without like stepping on toes. So it's been really cool for us to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely, it sounds like my story, right? We do right now exclusively organic SEO, geo, etc. Obviously, you're very good at what you do. You're still in business. 2007, that's a long time. Well,
18 years, yeah.
let's talk about the AIO Foundation. So in your presentation that you gave at Digimarcon in Denver, you mentioned something that really stood out to me. Clients are literally finding you through ChatGPT searches now. Can you unpack what's happening here? What does it mean when prospects say, I found you on ChatGPT instead of I found you on Google?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of blew my mind. It really started this summer, where in the first part of a discovery call, I'd say, so how did you hear about us? And they'd said, I asked ChatGPT how to improve my social media, and you came up first. And so we started to anecdotally hear about that, and then um, talking to our B2B clients and B2C clients, we were noticing that they're finding that companies or people at companies, I should say, are coming to them based on the results they're getting on ChatGPT. It's still, as you said, it's a very low percentage of people who are using ChatGPT solely as their search engine. But what's happening a lot of times is they might go to Google for some general knowledge, but if they're really looking to solve a problem, they'll ask a full question, multiple sentences in ChatGPT, and the answers that bubble up are going to be, as you've talked about, the most authoritative. And so it was a real eye opener to think that B2B decision makers who are out there looking for solutions are going into ChatGPT, asking ornate questions, and then getting detailed answers, and the detailed answers are coming from the websites and the socials of companies who are answering those questions for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I don't know, have you already downloaded Atlas, the new browser by ChatGPT?
Not
I
yet. I'm
mean,
curious about it. I'm also worried. Like, there's a lot of
yeah.
it seems a little
Well, so
wonky,
I,
but
I just downloaded it this morning. I played around a little bit with it. So far, with the search results, I'm not too impressed, but obviously they want to get a cut, right, of the cake that Google has right now. So we'll see how this develops. I mean, I'm glad for us, for SEO professionals, right? There's a new component in the SEO space, and people are going to need help with this. You know, we'll keep on playing around with it. Then, yeah, if you go to Google Search Console and you look at the queries, what kind of, queries drove people to your website, super interesting. Do a filter search for the longest queries. You can see how people now engage in search, right? So it's very long phrases, very detailed. So this is what we're going to talk about here today, and how to take advantage of social for your AIO strategy. All right. So social content as AI training data. Eric, you made a point that stopped me in my tracks, that social media posts and blog content are literally training AI platforms to recognize brands as solutions. Walk us through how that works. Like what's happening behind the scenes when someone's, LinkedIn post ends up being cited in ChatGPT or Perplexity.
Yeah. So going back to, I say this every time with social media, and our approach has always been target audiences and business goals. Like, who do you want to reach and what do you want them to do? And knowing your target audience and what their needs are, what their concerns, what problems you solve for them, have always been that kind of content's always been the most effective in not just top of the funnel general awareness, but driving the sales funnel all the way through to sales and revenue. Like, social media does drive revenue if done properly. But what's really interesting now is when you are truly answering the questions that your target audiences are asking, or solving the problem, or explaining how to solve the problem through your brand, that comes up as authoritative content, because it's matching the queries, matching the things that they're specifically asking. So if you post something on LinkedIn about, I'm often asked, how should you pick a social media agency, or um, how should I find the best shampoo, or whatever those things are, right? And you have that specific question in the content, and then you answer it. The All of the AI models are looking at that, and they're looking at, oh, there's a clear question here, and there's a clear answer. That's really easy for them to parse and to see it as authoritative, and to bubble it up to the top. So there are some like basic things that we've always done, but now they're much more structured. So we're really thinking in terms of how are you answering, what questions are they asking? How are you answering those questions? Both in how are you explaining that this question has been asked, and then what the answer is, but also in the structure to make it easy to understand, both for people, but more importantly right now, or just as importantly for these AI models, because if it's poetic and confusing, they may not see it as effective or as authoritative.
Yeah. So honestly, I didn't think in my lifetime, as a part of this industry, AI, SEO, etc., I would ever recommend clients to optimize for their brand or company name. But man, it's so critically important right now because these large language models, they have to be trained on who you are, what do
Yeah.
you stand for, what are your values, et cetera, right? So right now, critically important to create content about your brand and make it as easy as possible for those large language models to understand, the connection between, your company name, who you are, what you do, and how you do things. So.
Yeah, on the blog posts, on your general website
Yeah,
copy, absolutely on your social media, all of it. Like, Google is indexing Instagram officially now, so you want to make sure your Instagram captions are doing the same thing.
yeah, absolutely. Let's continue on that topic. So EEAT for AI platforms. So at Bold Marketing, BSM, my agency, we obsess over EEAT. Stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. Critically important ranking signal for Google and also these other search engines. Eric, how do you demonstrate those qualities through social content in a way that AI platforms will actually recognize and trust?
Yeah, and this is where strategy comes in, right? Like, if your intern is posting about your company every day, there's probably not a deep content strategy that's aligned with EEAT. And so the first thing is to create a content strategy and a content calendar. And what we find is, if we create content pillars that are aligned with those indexable areas, the areas that you're talking about, then we are rotating the right kind of content through weekly and monthly. So um, it means stepping back a little bit from that just daily grind of, what do we need to post today, or what are we posting next week, and thinking more in terms of how you can create that authority, that expertise, that experience, and demonstrate it both in answering the questions again, but also, like you said, tying your brand to those answers. But in this case, more specifically, rotating through those content pillars on a regular basis, so you're creating a more robust and textured experience of your brand, of who you are and what you do. And it's for B2B and B2C,
Yeah.
right? Like, you really got to think in terms of, you're not just constantly, not a barrage of self-promotion. There's content, authoritative content that you're creating, that you're sharing across these channels, but there's also what we call curated or engaging content. There's thought leadership content out there, whether it's on a B2B side, talking about trends in your industry, like um, a trusted thought leader, a media person whose content you're sharing on your LinkedIn and you're tagging them to build more engagement, but also to create that concept of thought leadership and to tie more of those areas of expertise to your brand. And on the B2C side, like, if Real Simple has, 5 things you can do to keep your skin healthy, and you're a lotion brand, you're sharing that because you become a resource both to your target audiences, and there's more reason to follow you, but also because AI looks at you sharing all of this relevant, interesting content that that target audiences are looking for.
You probably saw the two recaps that I posted about Digimarcon, right? 2 posts for each day. How would you grade those posts? I basically summarized all of the sessions, and then I tagged the right people, and obviously I tied everything to my personal brand and my agency, Boulder SEO Marketing. Is that something that you recommend? I did not make it salesy, right? I thought it was educational. Like, what
Mhm.
do you think about the strategy like that?
Yeah, I think it's anytime you can create a piece of content, especially on LinkedIn or any of the social channels, really, that is becomes a resource, right? That's interesting and enough that people they read it, they digest it, they might save it, which is a huge like engagement metric. If they're resharing it or reposting it, that's if the content is just good on its own and it's well structured, that's great for human consumption, but it's also, it's really good for AI consumption because it's looking for those understandable blocks of content. But the magic and the secret sauce for overall engagement, especially on the organic side, is tagging sources, tagging people, encouraging interaction and engagement. Um, a lot of times we call it softening the market. If you are a brand and you're trying to get the attention of certain media outlets, bloggers, or lowercase I influencers in the industry, you take their content, you share it, you tag it, you say, we really love this article by so-and-so, or this take by Chris Raulf about, AIO is fascinating. Not only are you sharing more of that relevant content, but you're building relationships and engagement back and forth. So all of that really helps. And we all want to feel like we've provided something of value. We always want to be shared. So there's a warm, fuzzy feeling when you see that someone shared a piece of your content and found it worth sharing with their audiences. So it's
Yeah,
great on SEO, and it's just great on like organic engagement and relationship building.
I think you definitely did the trick. Got a lot of engagement. People seem to like it. I'm going to put it below in the description field of this YouTube video if anybody wants to check out those two recaps that I did on LinkedIn. Let's talk about the 4 content types that you mentioned. So you broke content into 4 categories: curated, created, captured, and credible, if I'm right. Can you walk us through what each one means and which types perform best when it comes to getting recognized by AI search engines?
Yeah, for sure. And the way we think of it is, and I have a pie chart that we often use in our chats and our pitches, is you have owned content, curated content, earned content, and paid content. And so we call it a converged content model. You're not constantly self-promoting. You're really going through all of these different areas to improve your brand visibility and AI optimization as well. It's something we've done from the beginning. So we didn't create it with AI in mind. We created it with the idea of just best practices for social media. It works really, really well for AI search optimization. So owned content is the content that's about you as a company or a brand. It can be photos, videos, white papers that you're linking to, or blog posts. It can be self-promotional or educational. It can be profiles about the thought leaders in your company or favorite employees. It could be about the products you sell or the services, but it's all owned. It's all, even if it's softly self-promotional, it's all self-promotional. It tends to link back to your website. And it's really built around sharing who your brand is and what you do and the problems you solve. But you can't, people get tired if you're just constantly talking about yourself. So that curated piece, like I just mentioned, is a way uh, to build more, make your feed and your brand a resource and for people, and that shows that you're part of a larger community and that you're a thought leader in the industry and that you have your finger on the pulse of what's important to your target audiences. So finding relevant, authoritative, interesting content that's going to answer questions your target audiences are asking, or that's within your purview of the kinds of areas of expertise that you provide. That sharing that content, again, not only does it help because you're tagging the sources so that it expands on the reach and the engagement, but it's also showing AI that you're sharing authoritative resources, so you're authoritative as well. Um, Earned media, that's gold, right? Like we can talk about how great we are all day long, but if someone else says how great we are, that has much more weight and much more oomph. And the cool thing about social and earned media is, and we love this, like we love when a client has a PR agency that we can team up with. First of all, they're telling us which reporters or influencers or analysts they want to get in front of, and we're sharing their content proactively as curated content. But when they do get that media hit, it's not just a one-time, ooh, we made it into Forbes or Fortune or New York Times, and they got that one, that one like spike in engagement or website traffic from that one time. With social media, you're building more shelf life for that earned media. And again, it's authoritative and it's third party, which makes it more credible and adds credibility to your brand. So you might share it when you first have that media hit, but you're going to share it multiple times and position it in different ways in case you missed it or pull a quote from it. So it becomes this really great part of your overall content ecosystem to show that other people are saying good things about you. And then finally, paid media. Social media is a pay to play, uh, you know, platform now or channel, which means that you can, unless you have really good organic engagement because you're a thought leader and you've been doing this a long time. For brands, they need excuse me, they need to know that you need a paid social budget to increase awareness, build more engagement, um, include build your fan base, but also more importantly, or just as importantly, to drive qualified website traffic for conversions for lead generation. So those that the paid side also gets, if you do a targeted post boost or sponsored content, not only are you getting more impressions, but you're getting more engagement, which adds to your authority in the eyes of AI.
Yeah, can agree more. So I'm not a massive fan of pay-per-click, paid social, Google ads, etc., etc. However, so we're testing with this podcast now. We're boosting the channel a little bit and promoting the episodes as we're gonna do with this episode. Man, it actually works. I get a lot more people signing up for the channel. We get a lot more views. So it's I couldn't agree more with you. It's actually something that I highly have to recommend.
Yeah.
Um,
Organic reach on social is less than
I know.
1.5%. It's
Yeah,
locked
yeah.
down. So you don't need a lot of money you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a lot of engagement, to get a lot of impressions. Obviously, website clicks are a little more expensive, but they're cheaper generally than programmatic media and some of the others. So, for a few $1,000s a month, you can get huge boosts
Yeah.
in visibility and actually online conversions or lead generation clicks for B2B. Like, you have to pay to play these days, no matter how good your organic content is.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, let's talk about convergence. So you called social and SEO the Wonder Twins, that they can't succeed without each other anymore. So I've been saying something similar with my multi-platform content distribution methodology,
Mhm.
also known as GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. Why are we seeing this convergence now, and what's actually driving it?
Yeah, this uh it just like knocked me backwards. Early summer, being on a call with a client, with their SEO agency and us, like we love those meetings where all the agencies are there together, propping each other up, giving each other advice, showing what's performing well, showing that we're all rowing in the same direction with the client. And the SEO provider said we were just about to pitch blog posts because we just felt like they needed more website content. And the SEO provider jumped the gun, or without us knowing, said to them, "Hey, we think you need Wide Focus to start providing blog posts because you need more authoritative content, and here's why." And then he went into what AIO is and how it's emerging, um, and he talked about the importance of that, content strategy, both in the blog post and social media. Um, and how now SEO and social feed each other. Um, I had no idea. Like, it was in literally the next week, I'm on a call, and that's when the first person said to me, "We found you via ChatGPT." Like, it all sort of coalesced at the same time. And as we've dug more into the way AIO works, it is because Google and ChatGPT and all of these others are indexing social. Um, I'll back up a second and say we've always coordinated with SEO agencies, our clients' SEO agencies. We want to know what the search volumes are, what you want us to focus on to improve their SEO on social, right? Like, it's always been sort of this more casual, but hey, we really need more of these keywords and phrases in the social media or these content areas so that the SEO is improved and their domain authority increases. And their Facebook shows up on, they're on page one, right? They get the company and then the Facebook link and Instagram and Pinterest or whatever else. But now it's become even more important that your social and your AI, or your social and your SEO partners, are really aligned, because whatever your goals are for SEO have to be reflected in social for the AIO piece of it to come together.
Absolutely. So something that I think before the term GEO existed, I called it multi-platform content creation, optimization, and distribution. If you think about this sentence, that basically encapsulates, right? You got to be in multiple platforms. You got to create content, optimize it, and make sure, right, it gets in all, the website and, LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. That's how it works nowadays. So I couldn't agree more. I think, SEO and social, and for that matter, also potentially pay-per-click and these other digital strategies. I mean, they all work together hand in hand, but I believe SEO and social more so than other combinations.
Yeah, you have to tell the same brand story across all of the, be
Yeah.
able to and to do that. I've always said at Wide Focus, we create constellations of brand experiences. I think that's gone even deeper now. It's not constellations of brand experiences. It's constellations of authoritative content, really, right?
Yeah.
Like, And that's a whole different way of looking at it. You can't haphazardly post to Facebook or to Instagram or LinkedIn and think you're going to get more clients that way. And that's always been the case. But now, even more, if you're not posting authoritative content on these social channels and on your website, you're invisible to
Yeah.
AI. So you're not going to rank, you're not going to show up, you're not going to be indexed. It's more critical than it's ever been to have your social and your website content aligned with your GEO and AIO.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the practical execution. So let's get tactical. Say I'm a B2B SaaS company or a local service business with limited resources. How do I prioritize my content efforts between traditional SEO, social media for engagement, and now AIO for AI visibility? Where should I put my money first?
Yeah, great question. And interesting one because you want the SEO money and we want the social money,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, no. First of all, you got to put. I think you need content strategy for any of this to be effective, um, which means you need to start. I think you need to put money into both, honestly. Like you need your SEO partner to help you figure out what the questions are that your target audiences are asking, where you can rank and where you can, what keywords and phrases and content's going to be resonant with us on the social side. We can do that for sure, and oftentimes the client themselves know what questions are being asked or what problems they solve. Not always. Sometimes you have to really pull that out of them. Um, but you have to, whatever it is, whether you start with an SEO company that's giving you that advice, or you start with a social media agency that has that experience, you need a content strategy before you think about anything else. You need to have some content pillars or some themes that you're going to focus on. You need to think about what your areas of expertise are and what problems you solve and what questions you can answer, and build that into a plan, whether it's whether it's an outline or a content calendar, or a general structure so that you can see, if you're a B2B SaaS company, you're like, what are the decision makers who are looking for your solutions? What are they asking? What are they, um, what are they going to ask on ChatGPT or on Google? And how can you answer that question and show that you are the solution of choice for that thing? If you're um, we work with an HVAC company where we're driving tons of leads their way. And part of that is because we're thinking in terms of what are the problems that they solve. And people aren't saying, find me the best HVAC company in Denver. They're saying, my furnace isn't working. What should I do? Right. And like you have to, and ChatGPT is going to say, well, here's some things you can check. And those sources are coming from authoritative sources. So if you have a blog on your HVAC thing that says, if your furnace is broken, these are the things you can test, ChatGPT is looking at that as a piece of authoritative content. So you need that content plan first, and then you need to figure out. That's where I would start with the money and getting your socials consistent and strategic, so that you are posting on a regular basis and you're sticking to that plan, and that you're using paid campaigns for sure, to generate more visibility for all of those things. And that's the thing, Chris, that's really important about social that um, people don't always understand is it drives traffic, it drives revenue. It doesn't have to just be about engagement or
Yeah.
impressions. If you're doing it right, you're driving leads and you're getting website traffic.
I mean, Eric, at the end of the day, what you and I and other business owners care about is like leads and new customers.
Yeah.
There's many ways to get there. Do I care? Sure. Right. At the end of the day, that's what our customers expect from us, I think, unless they have other KPIs. But what they're
Mhm.
hiring us for is like leads. And, ultimately they're then in charge of getting the sale.
That's it.
Cool. Well, let's talk about authentic expertise versus AI fluff. You
Ugh.
touch on it. All right. So,
Yeah.
Bulldozer Marketing, my AI SEO agency. Eric, and I think you attended my session at Digimarcon in Denver. So we use our universal content engine that's part of our proprietary micro SEO strategies methodology to turn any kind of call transcripts into ranking content,
Mhm.
capturing real conversations and authentic expertise. How do you ensure the social content your team creates has that genuine expertise that AI can actually recognize versus just generic AI generated content? When I take a look at customers' search consoles, so many pieces of content are being de-indexed, and I ask them, "Hey, is this AI generated stuff?" Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a reason for it, right? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So at Wide Focus Social Media, like the authenticity has always been a key to what we do. We always hire writers first as our community managers and content writers because we need that solid, storytelling and quality writing anyway. Now that our team is using AI at least for like first drafts and to get some to go from a blank page to some content that they can start massaging, we've started to create checklists of the kinds of things that feel just patently AI. It's the cadences and certain words that AI loves to use. I'm personally a fan of the M dash, so I'm never going to say don't use an M dash.
Yeah.
As much as people are like only AI uses that,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
Ion. That's my Oxford comma hill, for those who understand. But we have literally an ongoing list. Like if you use the word actually too often, because AI will say get do blah 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 actual results. We're like, oh, that's AI, or
yeah,
it'll go from this to this to this. You can, like there's certain cadences and things that are very easy to see. And in fact, on the Wide Focus social media blog, we just recently did a post about, or actually, I don't know when this is coming out. We actually are going to have a new resource about how to balance AI copy creation with that human touch, and um, it's really important that whatever you, I, this is a terrible image, but I feel like if you have AI write content for AI consumption, it's just like a cat eating its own poop, right?
yeah,
Like you're just regurgitating the same stuff over and over again. So you need expert eyes to look at it, to make sure it's authentic, to make sure it's accurate, but also to make sure it has that brand voice, it has a point of view, and it doesn't fall into the AI traps of repetition and irrelevance. So it's like, we will, I was worried when AI really started generating content that we would be priced out of the market. But what we're finding is even the best AI copy creation needs massage, needs a human touch and a voice and a point of view and the right tone. So you still, even if you're having AI create a first draft of this content, it's probably only 70 or 80% there, and you still need a human to go in and shape it and give it some love and some warmth.
yeah, absolutely agree. So today, Friday, October 24th, we're going to publish this ASAP early next
Cool.
week. Eric, if you can if you can please send us the link to the blog post, we'll include that in the description field of the YouTube video. All right. The one thing. So you gave everyone homework at the end of your Digimarcon session here in Denver. Write down two things that were useful and one thing you can actually do. One thing you can actually do. I love that because most people leave conferences overwhelmed. So far, a list is right now. What's the one thing they should do this week or when they listen to this podcast to start improving their AI search visibility through social media? What is the one thing?
Make a list of your content pillars. Like come up with 4 or 5 things that your brand can focus on that answers the questions that your target audiences are asking. And Chris, it's EEEAC.
T.
EEEAC.
EEAT. Yeah.
So even if you put it in that sort of structure, or just like, what are the 4 things that your brand should always be talking about that's going to be um, a resource for your target audiences, whether they're consumers or B2B decision makers? Make that list, create those content pillars, and start just populating under each one the kinds of things you can post about. It's just like, even something as basic as that, if you just write it on a piece of paper and have it by your computer, that's a really good start because you're already going to be thinking more strategically.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, this has been incredibly valuable. Where can people find you and White Focus if they want to learn more about you, your business, and about AIO strategies with social?
Yeah, so we are wide focus in Denver, but we work with clients around the country. Our website is wide focus. It's WIDEFOC.us. You can email me at eric@widefocus. Find me on LinkedIn. But yeah, one thing right now, because it's Q4, is we're talking to a lot of clients or potential clients about a Q4 social media audit. So whether they want to work with us for organic social posting and for paid social and influencer marketing and all of that stuff, they may or may not be ready to do that. But sometimes just a social media audit by us to show what they've done well so far this year and how to get things in place for next year. We create a content calendar. We help with all of that. That's a nice like entry level way to get some real use out of us, and it's an affordable way to get started. But and we'll do that. Yeah, but basically just send me an email at eric@widefocus, and I'm happy to start talking about it.
Awesome. Well, Eric, this has been a blast. I'm sure hopefully we'll meet soon again at a conference, or let's do that beer in November. I love beer. Always up for having a beer.
Awesome.
Cool. That was awesome. With that being said, Chris Raulf here. You're watching the AI SEO Insider podcast. I'm an AI SEO expert, also the founder of Boulder SEO Marketing, an AI SEO agency. As always, stay safe and healthy, and we'll catch you next time. All right.
Thanks,
Bye,
Chris.
everybody. Bye.